Let's go.
Let's go. Oh, no.
Do you want to?
Sorry. I'll let you.
Next one. I'm excited and I feel relaxed and I'm ready to party. Don't say sorry. You don't need to do that. You don't need to apologize. It's a fucked up female habit. You don't need to be sorry for anything ever.
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is?
I don't have rage issues!
I have nothing to prove to you.
When I'm good, I'm very good. But when I'm bad, I'm better.
I say when it comes to stardom and Lauren, there are no accidents.
Hi, Karen Peterson.
Hello and welcome to Citizen Dame, the podcast where life is good, fine. Life is lifing. I'm Karen Peterson, joined by Lauren Humphreys Brooks.
Hello. Well, I do live in the greatest city in the United States, so that's helpful for me.
Yeah. What new thing happened in New York City this week?
Rent freeze. Woo! Yeah. Rent freeze and all of Mamdani's all of the far left progressive candidates that Mamdani endorsed for the Democratic primaries won their primaries, and the Democratic establishment is pissed. And you just want to go guys, it's not at all. Literally all he did was endorse people, which is what politicians do. He just endorsed people according to his perspective and his political alignments, and the people voted. It was a primary, so it was lower turnout, certainly, but the people still voted. It's not like he shoved these candidates through or anything. It was just we just voted. And then this is what happened.
This is the thing that I really wish politicians and media pundits and political pundits and whatever would really think about and remember, is that when things are happening politically, the will of the people speaks, and instead of trying to force through their own agendas, start listening to what the people want and actually represent us. This is what we see so much with a particular side of the aisle, where they're just trying to force their will on us and trying to rig the game so that they can win elections because their policies and their platforms are not popular. And instead of listening to what people actually want, they're trying to tell us that, oh no, you don't actually know what you want. We know what's best for you. And that's why it's not working.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's an abusive relationship, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's just oh, what you say you want is not what you actually want. I know better than you. And yeah, it's very, and that's the thing. I think that with Mamdani, and he is incredibly popular right now. The whole thing, the Knicks win, the amount of stuff that he's managed to get done in less than a year. The most recent rent freeze for rent stabilized apartments is just kind of it was one of his major campaign promises. He pulled it off, all of these different things, and people are yelling about, oh, this is political, this is this is that. It's just dude, we elected him. He ran on a progressive platform saying, this is what I'm going to do. He beat out all of the other Democratic candidates for the nomination. He beat Andrew Cuomo. He won. And it's not because of some backroom political gamesmanship. The people voted for him. He said, this is what I stand for. We said, we like what you stand for. We're going to vote for you. Mm-hmm. And now he's doing things. And I think that's the other thing, is that he's doing the things that he said he was going to do. And and he's successful at it. And he's massively popular. Everybody is responding oh, we love him because he's doing the things that he said he was going to do. Which is a shock, apparently, to our system. Because they're what do you mean he said he was going to do that and then he did it? Are you kidding me? You could just do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been very, it's funny in some ways, because you're just what are you complaining? And it is just kind of giving that lie to oh, we have to compromise, we have to, we can't expect things to get done, all of that. And it's but we're seeing it happen, which means if he can do this, then that means it was always possible. Like there was always this possibility. It's similar in so many ways to like when you begin to see more queer representation or more feminist representation, and you're just like, oh, you could have always told these stories. You could have always done this. You just didn't.
Right.
And how dare you? Like it's that sort of feeling, I think, and I do think that that's what establishment Democrats as well as Republicans are frightened of like, oh, you mean you could do that? Well, that changes things.
So, okay, I have a question about the rent freeze. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I know from context clues what it means, but like how long is this in place? What does this ultimately mean for New York City?
So what this means for New York, so this is only for rent stabilized apartments, and there's something like 5 million rent stabilized apartments in the city.
It's crazy that there's 5 million apartments.
It's something city. Like that. I might be making that up. It might be 5 million people, but regardless, yeah, it's rent stabilized apartments, which are a particular set of apartments that are controlled. Their rents are controlled by a body called the Rent Guidelines Board, and they determine every year how much rent is allowed to go up by. And they like have a vote. There's public commentary, there's public meetings, they have a preliminary vote, and then they have like the final vote. And I think it's a panel of 7 people. And it's supposed to be like a set of representatives for tenants unions, tenant representatives of landlords, and then like a couple of, I think what are called public representatives, who are they're not affiliated with like tenant unions or landlord unions or anything like that. And now one of the wrinkles in all that is that they're appointed by the mayor.
Okay.
And so historically, like they vote the way that the mayor kind of doesn't tell them to vote, but sort of directs them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not 100%, but that's kind of the way that it works. So effectively what happened this year is I think Mamdani wound up appointing 6 out of the 7 people who are on the Rent Guidelines Board. And Eric Adams had tried to he tried to stack the deck basically and tried to make it so that Mamdani couldn't appoint people. And I'm not 100% certain how he was trying to do that, but basically like that's what he was trying to do. And then Mamdani came in, and there were like some people who quit and stuff like that. So essentially he appointed a large number of the people on the board. What they voted for last week was to freeze the rent of both 1 year and 2 year leases. So in rent stabilized apartments, we sign a 1 year lease, we sign a 2 year lease, which locks in the rate for that amount of time. I've lived in New York now for 11 years. Like I've lived here for longer, but I've gone back and forth. But I've lived here for the last time I started living here, I've lived here for 11 years. And this is a film podcast, by the way. but yeah, so I've lived here for 11 years. I have the first 2 years I was here, there was actually a rent freeze on 1 year leases, and that means that it goes up by 0%, right? So it stays the same that it was. So if it was like in 2016, it's going to be the same in 2017. And there's a period of like how long, when the leases are signed and when they run for and stuff like that. This is the first time I think in history, certainly recent history, that the Rent Guidelines Board has frozen rents for both 1 and 2 year leases.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying on the news, that it's the first time
Yeah.
in history that it's been for 2 year leases.
Yeah, so I am on a 2 year lease. It essentially means that the rate that I am paying right now, which I've been paying for 2 years, I'm going to continue to pay the same rent for another 2 years when I sign my new lease.
Nice.
So the thing is that for a lot of rent stabilized people, this is at a time when it's getting increasingly expensive to live in New York. It's getting increasingly expensive to live, period. It's hugely beneficial because it effectively says like, I can plan for things. I saw one woman who was saying like, oh, I might actually be able to go on vacation, right? It's that kind of thing. It's like, you're not having to worry about spending another $200 or $300, $400, depending upon what your rent is and how much they raise it by. a year or a month.
Yeah.
And rent in New York is insane.
It is
like
so insane.
It's insane. I'm not going to tell you what my rent is, but my rent is about half of the median rent in this neighborhood because I'm in a rent stabilized apartment. And that's stupid.
Mhm.
Like, if you knew what I paid in rent, and that's ridiculous. I don't know how people like even if I don't know how you have that amount of money, right? So this is a really big deal, and this is something that Mamdani ran on. He was really like, this was one of his major campaign promises, and he can't control it. Obviously, he can appoint people and say, this is what I want you to do, but he does not actually have a say in how they vote.
Right. Okay.
But they voted for this. Like, he can't unilaterally just say, we're going to freeze the rent, but he can say to the board members that he appoints, this is what I would like you to do. And they did.
Awesome.
It's great.
So how long is this in place for?
So it'll be in place, like they'll vote again next year. They vote every year.
Okay.
They'll vote again next year. So, that's why. So in other words, anybody listening who has an option of a 1 year or 2 year lease in a rent stabilized apartment in New York, sign that 2 year lease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you know for a fact you're gonna be leaving.
Yeah, it's one. Well, and that's the other thing. It's one of the things that as New Yorkers we've always had to game a little bit of, like, is it better to sign a, what are the chances effectively of the rent staying the same, or there being a rent freeze? And with Mamdani coming in, at the end, like at the election last year, a lot of people were like, okay, maybe we can wait, maybe we're actually going to get a rent freeze. And and we did. So effectively, like, I've been paying the same rent for 2 years. I'm going to be paying the same rent for another 2 years. And that has a knock-on effect. Like, also means I'm going to invest that money back into the New York economy because I can spend more money now.
There you go.
Awesome. And that is your lesson in New York State real estate, New York City real estate.
No, thank you. I was, like, I followed the news. I knew that this had happened. I saw it, but all the details of it I didn't feel like researching them. It's easier to just hear it from somebody who's actually living with it and getting to benefit from this. So
yeah, it's one of those things that's really confusing. I think, like, I didn't know anything about this until I moved into this apartment, and then I learned a lot about rent stabilization and the rules around it. Rent stabilized apartments, there's been this big fight for universal rent stabilization. Mm-hmm. Because I think it only applies to certain buildings like built before 1974. There's all of these rules around it, but rent stabilized apartments also have more protections for tenants than just your regular market rate apartments. And so stabilization in itself is incredibly important. Really, all apartments should be stabilized. We should not be at the mercy of these landlords.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we deal with this in California too. And our politicians are much less friendly to the idea of things like rent control, rent stabilization. Rent freezes would never happen here except for during a global pandemic. But
well, our politicians have not been incredibly this is, like I say, we're all sitting here what the fuck, what's happening right now.
It's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about a movie, shall we?
I think we should.
All right. So this month, for Pride Month, we've been talking about movies that are supposedly not gay but are very gay. And so we've talked about Point Break, we talked about Johnny Guitar, Veracruz, and this week we're finishing it up with the movie Bend It Like Beckham from 2002. A little different from the other movies that we've been talking about because nobody dies in this one. And it's a
Except
comedy.
except for me, who sits there screaming.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about Bend It Like Beckham is that there's stories about how this was originally supposed to feature an actual explicitly gay love story and that it was changed. Now, we'll talk about that. But there is a gay character in this movie too. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about him in a second as well. But basically, so this movie, this stars Parminder Nagra and Keira Knightley, Jonathan Rhys Meyers, and supposedly in a love triangle. Whatever. But yeah, so we have a girl named Jess, and this is the character played by Parminder Nagra, who was on ER for several seasons. That's where I first well, no, that's where I second saw her. I saw this movie and then she showed up on ER. Anyway, she plays Jess, who is Punjabi. She's from a very traditional family and but living in England. And she dreams of becoming a professional soccer player. My brain is like, do I call it soccer or football? They're in England. They're all calling it football, but it's soccer.
Let's call it soccer.
We'll call it soccer for the purposes of this podcast because we're super American. Anyway, she dreams of playing professional soccer. She loves David Beckham. She has a poster above her bed of him that she talks to when she's feeling down or when she's happy or when she's bored. She just loves talking to David Beckham. And anyway, so she's got some friends, some boys that she plays soccer with just in the park. And one day, a girl named Jules, who is Keira Knightley, she sees Jess playing soccer and invites her to come and join their women's league or women's team. And she ends up doing that. And the two become very good friends. And they also sort of have a love triangle with their coach, which is Jonathan Rhys Meyers. And yeah, Jess also is trying to hide from her parents the fact that she is playing soccer because her mother would not be okay with this. So neither of her parents really would be. So, and all this is happening while her sister is preparing to get married. So that further complicates her having to hide this from her family. So that is the basic story of Bend It Like Beckham. So really quickly, I wanted to talk about the buzz that this was originally written as a movie where Jess and Jules, like it's a love story between the two of them. And so that's what the story is. That's what people say. I did find a blog called Everything You Love Is Gay. Unfortunately, it looks like this blog is no longer being written, but it's still available on the internet. And I wish that they were still writing it because there's some fun stories on here. But anyway, they talk about Bend It Like Beckham. And one of the things that they said is that the source for this, the story was originally a gay love story, is from Nisha Ganatra, who's a director as well. And she was really good friends with the director of this movie, Gurinder Chadha, and that she says that Chadha chickened out of the lesbian romance storyline for fear of offending and upsetting Indian audiences. So this blog is saying like that's not the most credible source. Like the director has never actually confirmed this. Nobody else involved with the movie has ever actually confirmed it. But when you watch the movie, it does feel very true. So who knows?
Yeah. I will say I think that Keira Knightley has since said that she agrees that the two of them should have wound up together at the end, that's what the story should have been.
Or at least it should have been explicit because in my view they did.
They do. It's like they're going to college.
They're going far away from their families. Yeah.
All sorts of things can happen in college. Yeah, it's the thing is, so like this is the second soccer movie I've watched this year where I'm just like, why is this not gay? Like, how can this, and this more so I watched She's the Man, which is also really wants to be gay and isn't, but it's more understandable in some ways because Channing Tatum is the male lead. But still, you're just like, this wants to be gay so badly.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's the thing with Bennett Like Beckham, like whether or not those rumors are true, it does feel like everything is setting up for and creating this love story between these two girls. And then we've got this random dude over here who kind of gives them the no homo, right? And that's the thing, that there are gay characters in it. There are references to and discussions of lesbianism. There's in fact like mistaken lesbianism at one point. But watching it, just like this, the story feels so is queer. Like the story is queer. The queer subtext is like right there at the text. Like, and it's not just in the relationship between Jess and Jules, it's in the coding of the characters themselves. It's in the cultural conflicts. It's in the social conflicts, because like when you've like, I'm sorry, I did not buy the, oh, you can't date a white guy kind of thing. It just felt like it was tacked on. It didn't feel like, I felt that there was a way that they could have developed the romantic relationship between Joe and Jess that would have made that more tension filled and made that more like, okay, this is also about this conflict of culture and her family not wanting her to date white men, not wanting her to date outside of the Punjabi community at all. And I felt like they could have explored that, but it doesn't. It's just kind of tacked on. It feels more like he is standing in for, like, even in certain scenes, I'm like, he's standing in for Jules. Yeah. Jules should be in this scene, right? This should be about her growing awareness of her lesbianism and her desire for Jules and her relationship with Jules. And it just turns just a little bit. And it drives me insane.
Yeah.
Because watching it, I was like, no, you're gay.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like when I look at a rom-com, like a rom-com that I want to watch, I don't necessarily think, oh, I want to watch a hetero love story or I want to watch a gay love story. I just want to watch a good gay or good, well, like a lot of times I do want to watch a gay love story. I just want to watch a good love story, and I want to watch one that feels true to the characters. And in this movie, which I enjoy quite a bit, it doesn't feel like it's true to the characters, because you do have so much chemistry between Jess and Jules, and there are even scenes where it's like, oh man, they should have kissed right here, you know, like when Jules shows up to the sister's wedding, and after they have not really been talking and stuff, and it's like there's just so many moments where it's like these two should be together. It does not feel true to who they are. And as much as I enjoy this movie, that is a very frustrating thing. And that's where I just start, you know, kind of mentally fixing it as we go along. Because, yeah, and first of all, yes, this was 2002. I know one of the concerns with making it a gay love story is like, you know, some people would have said, see, this just reinforces all the queer stereotypes about like women that play sports, you know, women athletes and you know, those kinds of things. But it's like, but if it feels right for the characters, just let it happen.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The heterosexuality feels very shoehorned in of like I say, it's kind of like the no homos sort of claim.
Well, and neither of them have any chemistry with Jonathan Rhys Meyers.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's this whole thing that it's supposed to be like Jules has a crush on Joe, and that's why like they break up at one point. Like Jess and Jules get into a fight, and it's supposed to be because Jules like caught Jess nearly kissing Joe. The fact that all of their names are so close together. Also, we got to talk about the naming conventions in this.
Yeah.
But But that's the thing. It's like that, it doesn't make sense that she has a thing for Joe, but it does make sense if Jess goes to kiss Joe and Jules is like, oh my God, we've been like secretly dating.
Mhm.
And now you're kissing this dude, right? Like
Yeah.
it makes way more sense if this is an exploration of Jess's sexuality as well, like as a part of that cultural identity.
Right.
And that's part of what is being awakened in soccer and with Jules is not just that she wants to play soccer and, you know, kind of break away from this very traditional family, but that she is like she is not heterosexual.
Mhm.
Right. And so that makes a lot more sense
Yeah.
than anything else.
Right.
And yeah, so I do like whether or not it was intentional, I strongly believe that this was originally written as a gay love story.
Mhm.
And that at some point it was like, we're not going to be able to sell it. We're going to offend people. We're not going to be able to do this. And, you know, maybe they were right in 2002. That's very possible. And so it was sort of somewhat rewritten in order to incorporate this, you know, heterosexual love story. But it's not reworked enough for it to really work.
Yeah.
Because you still have this intense emotional romantic relationship going on between these two girls that plays out like a romantic relationship, but we're being told is not.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that happens is, so Jules, her mother has been very much like, you need to give up soccer because no man is ever going to love you. You need to find a good man and get married. And that's what's been happening in her family. And then there's a scene where Jess comes to visit Jules because they've had this big falling out. And her mom, Jules's mom, overhears their conversation and thinks, oh, Jules is gay. And she's devastated by this. And as she's crying at this idea to her husband, to Jules's dad, she starts talking about like one of the things, like the reason that she's so upset about this is because her daughter's life will be so hard if she's gay. And there's definitely some homophobia in there, but it's interesting listening to her say like, oh, I love all these, gay, who does she mention? George Michael. I love George Michael, and
it's like, this is so hard for him. The way that he was treated, the way that they treated him.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, Jules's mom could get on board with the idea of her daughter being gay. Once she gets past, this is going to make your life a lot harder. Like she could come around and be okay with it, but it's funny that like that's kind of how they address this relationship between them, is to make it a misunderstanding instead of an actual relationship.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And I really liked that with her mother, because it's basically like her mother's just like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. and part of it with both Jess and Jules, leaving aside the sexual identity, the issue of gender identity is such a big thing. So, and I do think the film handles that well, is that both of them are not traditionally feminine in the way that their parents, particularly their mothers, want them to be.
Right.
And Jules is allowed more flexibility in her gender identity because of the family that she comes from. Her dad does support her and what she's doing, but her mother is like, no, you need to like wear this kind of bra and you need to do this, and it's two different sides of the same sort of gender performance in Jess's family and in Jules's family. And it comes together in this, soccer relationship where they, like, Jules' big dream is to go to America, where they actually do have a professional women's soccer team. And I think it's hilarious watching a British movie about soccer where the big dream is to go to America because they actually take women's sports more seriously there. And I'm just like, and I don't know what, like, I honestly, because I don't follow soccer at all, I don't know what the reality is now, but it's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, it's true, definitely there are more, certainly in terms of sports, there are more opportunities for female athletes in the United States than there are in a lot of places in Europe and in Great Britain, simply because of the way that our collegiate sports work. But and the emphasis on collegiate sports.
Well, and there is a scene where they're showing clips and Mia Hamm is playing, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I definitely knew who she was in 2002, even without following soccer. So
yeah, exactly. And you know, I think we still have that sort of attitude. We actually do in a lot of ways have a better, amazingly enough, we are better with women's sports than a lot of Europe. And that's weird to say, but it's true.
By the way, the United States team had won the World Cup twice by the time this movie came out. So the women's team.
So the women's team is better too.
Oh, yeah. They've won 4 World Cups. The men have won 0 World Cups.
Oh, great. Anyways, yeah, we can talk about women's, but that's like part of it is that so it's interesting as well because Jess like has all these pictures of Beckham on her wall, right? And she's idolizing him. She wants to be like Beckham. She doesn't want to fuck Beckham. She doesn't think that Beckham is hot. She's not interested in him. You know, she's playing with all of these frankly gorgeous shirtless boys, and she is basically just one of the guys, right? And this is something that bothers her mother as well, because her mother is like, you can't act like this anymore. So there's this whole issue of gender identity that then gets wrapped up into sexual identity. But then you've got Jules, who actually, if you look at the posters on her wall, a lot of her posters are female soccer players. And so she's idolizing these women that she actually, you know, Jess is not going to be able to ever play with Beckham, but Jules might be able to play with these women. Jules might be able to be one of them. And so it's this interesting sort of dichotomy about gender identity and about who you identify with and who you're allowed to identify with. And this, you know, Jules and Jess are both sort of in this in-between space where they're not boys, right? But according to their families and their cultures, they're not really, quote, girls, right? And that queerness, that element of queerness is very prevalent throughout the film. And so it isn't just about the queer subtext of the lesbian relationship that is developing, but the queer subtext of gender identity and that sense of not belonging in one space or the other, but belonging in a third space is really, really explicit as it can be.
Yeah. There's even there's a scene where the sisters' future soon-to-be in-laws come over to meet with the family because they want to pull out of the engagement because there was a misunderstanding where somebody saw the Jess and Jules and they were like hugging or something, and it looked like they were kissing, and they thought that she was kissing a boy because Jules has shorter hair. And so she was, you know, mistaken for being a boy. And I think that's part of it too, is like she's, you know, she doesn't dress like a girl, she doesn't present herself like a girl, she's just her, you know.
Yeah, it's that the like Jules in particular is presented throughout the film as fairly androgynous. Like that's why that attitude, that gender identity of neither male nor female kind of thing. And she's definitely in her ultimate identity, I think she definitely is female, but she's queer coded, she's gay, like she's a lesbian, or again, at least bisexual. We're at least dealing with bisexuality here. But actually I think Jules is more lesbian coded than she is, but like Jess is more bisexual coded. Like I agree, and certainly someone who's just coming to understand and discover her sexuality, and what that means and what that looks like. Whereas Jules feels very solidly in the I like girls category.
Yeah.
And like, there's even when they first meet, we get like, you know, the group of girls that are like Jess's sister's friends, who are all, you know, ogling the boys and like looking at all these boys who are playing soccer with their shirts off and everything. They're like talking about how hot they are. And then we've got Jules over there she's watching Jess. And of course, what she's watching Jess for is like, oh, you should play for my women's soccer team. But the comparison is pretty clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she goes up to Jess and asks, what side do you play for? And I'm sitting there and I know that side means like what team, right? But I'm like, but are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? With their introduction being, what side do you play for? Like,
yeah.
Well, and I think Jess says something like, oh, I don't really have a side yet. And I play all the sides, just like queer people. These are queer women.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I honestly don't know how it could be read any other way. If it is a heterosexual story with a love triangle, then it's very boring and doesn't work.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, and you can see that's what I was saying about that one scene where like they mistake, like Jess goes to kiss Joe or whatever, and that whole conflict is like they're a couple that just broke up because one of them got caught cheating. Right. They're not acting like two girls who like the same guy.
Exactly.
At all. Like, that's like, because that's really the central relationship. It's the most important relationship, certainly the most important romantic relationship going on. And the idea that like this is over a guy, just it doesn't gel with what the story is on the screen.
Yeah. But you know, it's funny because thinking about it like this, it makes me think of, you know, we've been doing the bonus series about A League of Their Own, and one of the things we were talking about, one of the characters we were talking about is Shirley, who misses a lot of the signs of what's happening around her because she just does, she's so naive that she just doesn't think about it. And that's what I think people who watch this movie and see this as not a gay movie, it's because they just are naive and they're just not looking for it and they just refuse to see it.
Well, and one of the things that, you know, we deal with when we talk about sports movies is that sports are incredibly homosocial. Yes. And they're also incredibly homoerotic because it involves people of the same gender constantly in contact with each other, touching each other, showering together, getting dressed together. Like, it has a homoerotic element, regardless of the actual sexuality of the people involved. It has a very homoerotic element. I mean, Heated Rivalry came out this year, right?
Yeah.
Like, and now that's a very explicitly gay story. But that homoeroticism in sport, both in men's and women's sports, has been there for a very, very long time. And it's you know, we were talking about the Westerns, right? The homoeroticism of the Western, where you constantly have this kind of no homo narrative, but you're talking about incredibly homosocial relationships and cultures where the eroticism is just going to be present. You know, like, you can't avoid it. Again, regardless of the actual sexualities of the people involved, the eroticism is there.
There's a scene in a locker room. You know, the girls are changing. They're in various states of undress and dress, and it's not filmed in a way that feels particularly like voyeuristic. It's part of, this is just what happens in sports. You know, they see each other naked and or at least in their underwear or whatever. Like, that's just part of it. And just to your point about it. And it's Jess's first experience with that, presumably. That's what it seems like. And it does create some discomfort for her, but not because of the situation. It's because of her own insecurity, because she's got a scar on her leg, which Parminder Nagra actually has that scar, and they worked it into the film. But yeah, sorry, I need to take a brief detour because you brought up heated rivalry. I just had to mention something about it. I feel like it's related to this. But it's really funny because that show came out, it became super popular. My nephew, who's in college, he has a girlfriend, and my nephew loves hockey. And his girlfriend started asking him all kinds of questions about hockey, and he was all excited. He's like, "Oh, yay, she's into hockey now!" And it turned out that she just wanted to understand heated rivalry better. And he was like, "Dang it, are you kidding me?" And it was just so funny. And that's the thing, is like, so many younger people love heated rivalry. It's become super popular, and it's not because of the hockey. It's because of the gay love story.
The gay,
and, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, people want more gayness in our movies and our TV shows. Stop depriving us of the gayness.
Well, and that's the thing. It feels, and talking about Bend It Like Beckham, which is so good in so many ways. I really, you mentioned the lack of the way that the locker room scenes are filmed. Right. And I liked that throughout, that you've got these women who are being filmed. They're athletes, right? We talked about this also on our bonus series when we were talking about A League of Their Own, where these are women who are being filmed as athletes, not as sexual objects. And that's how they're photographed throughout this film. One of the things that I also really liked is that the connection between Jules and Jess is not just this, kind of nation attraction that is developing between the two of them, but the way that they play soccer together. They are like this sort of dream team. Mm-hmm. They are connected to each other. They have this rhythm that they get into when they're playing soccer. And then that changes when they get into a fight, and they are no longer are mad at each other. They no longer have that with one another. That alters, and you can see the switch happening. So some of the queerness, some of the, romantic connection that they are developing it's intertwined with the representation of the sport and the representation of soccer, which I really liked. And that's, again, why watching it's so maddening in some ways, because you're like, because all of this makes sense if they're gay, if they're into each other. None of it makes sense otherwise. I have to say, just as an aside, I fucking hate heated rivalry. I think it's a terrible show.
I never watched the show. I read the book, and I was like, it's fine.
I find it, I don't like it. I find it boring. I find it I do not enjoy the show. But one of the things that is coming out of this is that people are like, oh, we're going to get we're going to get shows like Heated Rivalry. But instead what we're getting is 5,000 hockey shows. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something like 6 hockey shows currently in development. Some of them are the straight romances. It's no, you don't understand. We don't want more hockey. We want more gay.
Exactly.
So we need gay soccer players and gay football players, and we need gay baseball players. And I've been watching a lot of this recently. What's the most incredibly gay sport in the world is rugby. Rugby is so gay. both men's and women's rugby, gay, 100% gay. There are real life female hockey couples who are play for opposite teams or play on the same team, but that are married to each other. That's an actual thing. We want more gay. We don't want more hockey. We want more gay.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Just we don't want more we want more pirate shows, but we want gay pirate shows.
I want gay pirates. Yes. I'm fine with hockey if you give me more gay, more interested. This is one of the things I don't like about Heated Rivalry, is that those boys are way too pretty and and they have no emotion on their faces. I want to see 2 big bear enforcers who with like missing teeth, beating the shit out of each other, and they're actually in love. Like, that's what I want. Stop like showing me these, you know, ripped twinks or whatever. I don't care about that. I want to see like badass hockey players who are like knocking each other's teeth out and are totally into one another. Come on.
Yes.
Anyways.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we wanted from this soccer movie too.
We really did. And it comes so close, and it's so good in so many other ways as well. I love what it does with the cultural context, with the cultural conflicts, and you know, the sort of question of like, why are her parents so opposed to her playing soccer when she's so good at it, right? And we get more insight into that, and insight into why that is, and it's complicated. It isn't as simple as like, no, you have to be like this. Because some of it is also just protection. It's like, we want you to be safe, we want you to be accepted, we want you to have connections to our culture, and so it's that kind of dichotomy, and it means that there's no real villains in this film. It's just complicated. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like the relationship that Jess has with her parents is a difficult one. And it's also one that, you know, I've seen similar types of relationships, especially with immigrant families, where you have very traditional parents who want to instill some of those traditions into their kids, but also they have to assimilate in some ways to where they live, and trying to blend those two things together is very complicated. And I think that is really well presented here, because of the fact that like Jess does butt heads with her mom really badly, but there's still love there. You know that her parents care about her. It's not that her parents just are mean and abusive and don't want her to have a life and don't want her to be happy. It's like you said, they want to protect her. And in their minds, part of that protection, you know, she should go to law school and have a good career. She should get married and have a family and stability and a future. And they don't see sports as the path to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But to me, this movie does end with them ending up together, because they both get recruited by Santa Clara University, which is a real university in California. It's actually a Division I school with a great women's soccer team. So they get recruited full ride to go play soccer in California, and they go together. And to me, they're going to get there once she is 7,000 miles away from her parents. Jess is going to realize, okay, yeah, I am gay too.
Absolutely. Like, I'm glad that the film ends with the two of them going off together, basically.
And like, leaving Joe behind.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, come back and visit. It's just like, no, you won't. No, you won't. Bye, Irish boy. Like, I'm sorry. It's a good ending. It's just one of those times, man, where I'm like, but you're gay. Like, I was literally just yelling at the screen half of the time. I was sitting there drinking my yeah, I was sitting there drinking my wine, just like, no, you're gay.
I think by the time the plane landed, they were ready to admit it. They were also going to the Bay Area, so you know.
Yeah, they just got on the plane, and Jill's like, so
I've been meaning to tell you.
Yeah. And just thinks about it for 6 hours or whatever by the time that they land. Yeah, it's just like, actually, me too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Exactly. Any other thoughts about Bend It Like Beckham?
Well, we did mention that there is a gay character, and we
didn't even talk about him.
Yeah, I quite liked that again. So it's her friend. Let's see, what is her name? What is his name? Tony. So
Tony.
it's Jess's friend Tony, who is like he encourages her, he's really supportive of her. He wants, I really like that relationship as well. Actually, I liked the relationship that she had with all of the men. Even as they're like, kind of razzing her, making fun of her and everything, but she's just sort of running circles around them. And there is that sort of one of the guys kind of attitude where they're like making fun of her, but also really have a lot of affection for her. And yeah, and it's nice in her relationship with Tony, where at one point, like, Tony is proposing that they get married because as long as she's allowed to go to college, and that this is kind of a way around some of the problems that they both have, which is that he's gay, and that's not going to be acceptable in their culture, and she wants to go play soccer and is also gay. But so it's like he proposes basically this lavender marriage, right? Where they're kind of going to avoid their problems by marrying each other and having that relationship. But I really like the way that it's dealt with. It's really sweet. It's not especially for a film made in 2002, it's not made a big deal out of. Where he tells her that he's gay, and she's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And it's very sweet, and it's a nice addition. And again, though, I really just think it would have had a stronger impact. Yeah. If the rest of the story had been allowed to be as queer as it wanted to be.
Yeah, I agree. And if you have listened to this episode and you're still not totally convinced that this is actually a gay love story, I invite you to just go look at any version of the movie poster or 90% of the publicity photos or just screen captions of this movie. And anytime these two women are on screen together, like, you really try to tell me that they are not in love with each other, because my gosh.
Like, female society, female culture is always a little bit, it's a little bit, it's a little bit overlapping in some ways, but there's a difference. Like, there's a difference between the way you relate to your female friends and the way that you relate to someone that you're like interested in.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Especially the pictures where they're looking into each other's eyes. It's like, no, these two women, neither of them is straight at all. Just saying. Yeah. Anything else?
Definitely. No, it's a good film. I don't want it to come off as I'm like, I hate this film or anything. It's so well made and well acted, and
it's
definitely
funny, it's fun.
Yeah. It's just, it wants to be queer so badly, and it should be allowed to be.
Yeah. And just watch it and assume that it actually is, because that's the only way to watch it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that's going to wrap things up for this week, and for this month. So we hope you've enjoyed this series. We will do more queer love stories in the future, in the not so distant future.
Definitely.
Maybe some overt ones too. So but yeah, we want to thank you for listening. Next week is, we'll be celebrating America, so we'll see how that goes.
Will we?
I like the meme that says, if you see me celebrating on the 4th of July, know that I am honoring the hot dogs and not the government.
I will say that the World Cup, like the Knicks winning, all this stuff, it did make me feel really warm about the American people, not about our government. But I'm like, you know what? We're pretty cool.
Yeah,
cool. Like, it's the problem is our government.
Exactly.
I like America. I don't like all of those assholes.
Right. And it's okay to celebrate the 4th of July. It's okay to celebrate the or what is it? The semi-quincentennial. That's what it is. Semi-quincentennial. It's okay to celebrate that. It does not mean that you agree with what's happening in our country right now.
Yep.
So, I will be doing very American things. I will be going to Disneyland and watching a baseball game that night. So there you go. And I will have hot dogs. Anyway,
Yay.
yeah. But we want to thank you all for listening. We especially want to thank our patrons, who are Abby, Audra, Brian, Connor, Estefania. Whoa, that was weird. Connor, comma, Estefania, Ferdinand, Heather, James, Judy, Carriata, Matt, Michelle, MK, Monty, Nanina, Noel, Robert, Roxy, Steve, and Sharon. If you'd like to join them and become a patron too, go to patreon.com/citizendame and sign up. You get early access to our episodes, you get bonus episodes, and yeah. And you'll also get to know what our next series is really soon, because we're finishing up A League of Their Own this week. So by the time you're listening to this, A League of Their Own is pretty much wrapped up, which is sad, but also bittersweet. So anyway,
Yes.
but if you want to kick us a couple of dollars and not sign up, you can go to our Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/citizendame. We have our website, citizendamepod.com. You can email us, citizendamepod@gmail.com, and you can find us on social media. We are on Instagram and Blue Sky at citizendamepod and Letterboxd at citizendame. You can also find us individually. Lauren, where are you?
I'm on Instagram and Letterboxd at LH Business.
I am on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Karen M. Peterson. And that's going to wrap this up for this week. And we will catch you next time. Bye.